So let's start off with Rick. Go ahead and let's get some of those great cannabis headlines.
Well, all right then. Hello, everyone. This is Rick Thompson with the Cannabis News on 420 Post. And let's begin. At the end of today, caregiver cannabis will be completely excluded from the Michigan medical and adult use cannabis markets. Now, this is not a surprise. The Marijuana Regulatory Agency decided to do this months ago. The already stressed supply chain will not be benefited from this. The ill individuals who utilize medicinal cannabis in the marketplace will not benefit. The adult use consumers will not benefit. In fact, the only people who will benefit from interrupting and limiting supply would be the companies licensed to manufacture cannabis. Today is the end of something special and the beginning of unremarkable dysfunction. When the morning sun rises, our industry will shine a little less brightly. Next story, a big recall of cannabis products was initiated in Michigan recently due to product testing failures for mold and yeast. The recall covers cannabis flower products sold at cannabis retailers 20 past 4 in Jackson, Green Care in River Rouge, 3 different locations of Common Citizen, and 4 locations of 315. The recall covers cannabis flower only, including Purple Diesel and 4 other strains, and a pack of pre-rolls called the Fine Dining 5-pack. Information on returning cannabis or identifying the bad batches can be found on the Marijuana Regulatory Agency's website or from the individual retailers involved. As per MRA policy, the retailers involved are identified, but the identity of the true bad actors, the cultivators who produce moldy cannabis, and the testing lab that certified the cannabis as safe, those are hidden from consumers, which is an ongoing disservice to cannabis purchasers statewide. Now, you've heard me say on the Cannabis News that Michigan's cannabis sales totals include lots of sales to out-of-state visitors. That figure was about 10% of total sales at last reporting. Now, if you thought that was unexpectedly high, let me introduce you to a state called Illinois. Now, congrats to Illinois on having a record-breaking month of sales in August. They sold $63 million worth of cannabis, but a whopping 27% of those sales went to out-of-staters. Now, if you look at Illinois and their geography, they're surrounded by 5 other less cannabis-friendly states, plus the greater Chicagoland region shares a metro area with Wisconsin. Now, those factors undoubtedly contributed to the huge segment of non-residential purchases. Outstanding cannabis media source Marijuana Moment reminds us that the pandemic has not slowed the growth of medical and adult use industries across America. Illinois has experienced huge increases in cannabis retail sales despite accusations of exclusion from the social equity applicants, including lawsuits over inappropriate awarding of licenses, and they have a really terrible medical program too. Now, how many federally approved hemp plans exist in America's 50 states? 60. How can this be? Because federal regulators have approved plans both in states, U.S. territories, and on sovereign native lands within the USA. Now that number, 60, still doesn't include all U.S. states either. Earlier this month, 6 states were asked to resubmit their hemp agriculture plans to the USDA after making necessary revisions. Recently, the USDA approved plans for Maine, Missouri, and a band of Crow peoples, too, to grow hemp. But don't let those numbers fool you. There's a lot of controversy over the current U.S. hemp program. Again, Marijuana Moment reports that federal regulators have reopened a public comment period on proposed hemp regulations due to outrage and disgust expressed over those rules by hemp companies and interested parties. Earlier this year, regulators rolled back 2 regulations regarding hemp testing and waste disposal that industry participants said were draconian. The protective language of the 2014 Farm Bill actually expires on October 31st of this year, and the Trump administration's proposed rules would potentially devastate the industry. Now, that's forced Senator Cory Gardner of Colorado to call on the USDA to extend the Farm Bill regulation until 2022. Hemp, which is America's most peaceful plant, is facing a crisis of conflict if Senator Gardner's request is not accepted. Stay tuned. Final story. How do you defeat the illicit market and support the licensed cannabis retailers in your state? You do not raise taxes. That's the plan California Governor Gavin Newsom advanced when he submitted his budget proposal for the upcoming fiscal year. California cannabis businesses are perpetually complaining about the state's tax structure, which keeps many cannabis consumers away from the regulated market since they can purchase lower cost cannabis products through the legacy market. Now, despite vowing to address tax reform issues in the cannabis industry, which most people took to mean lowering taxes, Newsom has agreed to not force his citizens to pay more during an unprecedented pandemic and record unemployment. Now, the exact opposite situation exists here in Michigan, where lawmakers and lobbyists for the Michigan Cannabis Manufacturers Association are reportedly preparing a bill to increase the excise tax by 20% of its current amount or more. Now, where would those funds go? In part, to fund police agencies and the institutions which train them, according to advanced copies of the bill reviewed by trusted sources. Now, Governor Newsom is right. Increasing taxes in California or in Michigan will drive consumers away from the regulated market. Our state's mysterious Manufacturers Association has a website which contains no contact email, no phone number, and gives 0 names of group leaders or directors. The association is made up of only 6 businesses, but they include Green Peak, Common Citizen, and the other mega giant cannabis entities. Now, you can compare that to the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association, which boasts 260 members, or the West Michigan Cannabis Guild with more than 200 companies as members. We will stay on top of this developing story, I promise. I'm Rick Thompson. This has been the Cannabis News on 420 Post, and thanks for watching.